Have you ever wondered why the universe is just right? Not too chaotic, not too boring, somehow just perfectly balanced for life. Today we are reacting to a video by one of my favorite personas on YouTube, Professor David Kipping from Cool Worlds, on this exact topic, explaining the fine-tuning problem and can physicists actually disprove God. My name is Josip Ninkovic. I'm a Catholic filmmaker with over 10 years of experience creating cinematic, faith-based stories, music videos, but also with a master's in geography. I've always been fascinated by how faith and science intersect, and today I want to share my perspective on this discussion. Stick with me because we're going beyond the math into why God's perfection may be even more subtle than the numbers suggest.
What has an orange got to do with God?
In a recent video, Professor David Kipping from Cool Worlds explored the fact that it looks like the universe has been finely tuned to accommodate our existence, and that to some, this is the best evidence of God available to us, an idea known as intelligent design. Later in the video, he will explore the concept derived by cosmologist Dennis Sciama that took 26 fundamental constants of our universe that enable the existence of life in the first place and presented them as axes in a 26-dimensional chart of physical constants, a space in which we can put hypothetical universes that have different constants to our universe. Complicated, I know, but all you need to take out of this, they are saying that from looking at this chart, we derive that our universe is statistically more likely to be barely habitable than to spawn life easily.
Intelligent design proponents usually make the argument that our universe is exquisitely finely tuned for us, and thus, in that picture, we should expect to live in the center of this island, not near the shore, such that by the time we reach 26 dimensions, a whopping 93.5% of universes live on the shoreline. So what this means is that for a hyperdimensional orange, the vast majority of its volume lives on the peel rather than in the fruit.
So that would mean that God didn't create our universe, since the universe itself is not perfect then. It's not flourishing with life on every corner, which would explain the Fermi paradox, for example. But I would argue that. What does barely habitable even mean? Does that mean a less comfortable evolution for life? In that case, a perfectly habitable universe could only derive non-complex life, since in its comfort, life never had the need to evolve into something greater than an amoeba. Even if our universe is not perfectly habitable, perfection of God's creation doesn't mean comfort, it means possibility. Okay, let's take a slightly different approach now. One a little more poetic. Imagine the creation of the universe as Tolkien described in the Silmarillion. You have this god figure, this Eru Eluvitar, the ultimate creator who asks his angelic subjects, the Ainur, to weave a great cosmic symphony. Each tone they sing isn't just music, it's a law of nature, as we would describe it in physics. A constant of creation. Gravity, the masses of protons, neutrons, the forces that bind atoms. Now imagine 26 notes in that grand symphony. Get it? Each corresponding to one of the fundamental parameters that scientists like Professor Kipping talk about. Now, in this cosmic orchestra, every note must align perfectly for the universe to even be created. One wrong tone, one dissonant note, and the universe, as we know, could cease to exist entirely. It's not a case that it would be a little harder for life to evolve. The whole structure might simply collapse. The laws of physics wouldn't just be different. They might not exist at all. Without all the notes aligning, the harmony is gone. So with imagining universes with different laws of nature to ours, we might be imagining harmony made out of dissonant notes. That just might be impossible in every universe. That is a legitimate question. What if only laws of nature from our universe are even possible? Slipping into survivorship bias, I know. But that doesn't take away the legitimacy of the question I posed. Now, let's continue to the question. Are physicists even equipped to tackle these kinds of philosophical questions? On a personal level, yes. Professionally, not so much. Is it even worthwhile to search for evidence of God, since perfection doesn't shout, it harmonizes? A perfect creator doesn't need to leave detectable fingerprints. Perfection leaves coherence, not clues. Some would then say, well, coherence is a clue in itself. Well, I would then respond in Jordan Peterson fashion, well, that is one clue that is tied to an unprovable hypothesis. That perfectly reflects God's plan. Not to invade our will by letting Him be discoverable. God doesn't want to force belief. He wants us to choose it. And back to that 26-dimensional concept. It is just that, a concept. We don't have to be spooked by that. By following these kinds of concepts, we could ask, well, why does reality follow reason and math in the first place? Well, that's a wrong question. It's the other way around. Math follows reality. We project numbers to these physical properties that are unchangeable, and us imagining different numbers and labeling different numbers to a constant maybe has no meaning in reality. See, mathematics is the language we use to describe the grammar of the universe. It's incredibly powerful. It tells us how the cosmos behaves, but it is still just a language, not the thing itself. And just like poetry can describe the ocean without the reader even swimming in it, math can describe how reality behaves without physically touching it. But okay, just for now, let's say more or less habitable universes could exist. That argument already assumes something we've never observed, a multiverse. And here's the problem. If other universes do exist, completely outside of ours, we have no way to even test or measure that. The same way we cannot test or measure God. That's not science anymore, it's imagination. But I'll tell you why that's actually a good thing. When we create these kinds of charts and concepts of hypothetical universes, they're beautiful intellectual exercises. They help us think, but they don't necessarily show us what's real. If the foundation of an argument lies beyond what we can observe or test, then any conclusion built upon it, no matter how elegant, might not apply to the world we actually inhabit. But that shouldn't stop us from thinking boldly. In fact, that's exactly what I love about Skiyama's idea. Now, some would ask, why do I, as a Christian, appreciate an argument that clearly is aimed at disproving intelligent design, an argument that seems to say that the universe doesn't need God to be habitable? First of all, it challenges me to think deeper about my faith. Secondly, because I believe science cannot prove God's non-existence. It can only discover His creation. That's why I am not afraid of science. I'm inspired by it. I genuinely am excited to see what human intellect and honest curiosity will uncover next. thinking, imagining, and searching for answers, even though outlandish concept like a 100-dimensional space may not be grounded in physical reality, but it can spark ideas that lead to groundbreaking discoveries. To conclude, some say that meeting point between science and faith is the Big Bang. But I would say the real meeting point is the eureka moment, that spark inside a human being, inside of human mind, searching for truth. Sometimes we can't explain why it bursts into our mind. That moment within a scientist or an artist alike is something beyond the strict scientific method. It's the meeting of the metaphysical and the physical, the moment when creativity touches reality, the moment of pure inspiration. And that's what will always separate human creativity from the illusion of creativity in artificial intelligence, but that's a topic for another video. In the end, as always, Professor Kipping beautifully concludes with curiosity, not assertion. Well, I would say Christians should too. We don't have to be afraid of curiosity. Science explores how the orange that Professor Kipping showed in his video exists. Theology explores the love that wanted that orange to exist in the first place. But hey, what do I know? I just want to believe. God bless.